Some of the other information coming from the baseline assessment market. If you look at the total revenue generated in South Africa, this excludes the imports and exports, the in and outs. We basically generated almost more than 2 billion rands worth of revenue locally in South Africa that's photonics related. So it's not a small market. We're employing about 1,870 people. These are set, scientific, engineering, and technical people. These exclude the production workers and that. The infrastructure is worth about 2.5 billion rand in South Africa at the moment. The R&D spend is about 285. Now these look like massive figures, but if you then go divide this into dollars and you look at the 600 billion euros that the people think the market's going to be like in 2020, it's minuscule. It's less than 1%. So there's really opportunities for growth within this area. That other little map that you see there of Africa, that basically looks at the distribution of industry, science councils, and HEIs in South Africa that are all working in the photonics area. As you would be expected, the two biggest areas are the Western Cape and Gauteng. Gauteng is by far the largest, followed by about, probably, I think, about 60% of the market. Another 20% goes to Western Cape, and the rest is divided amongst the other provinces. Then on the left-hand side, this was an assessment that we did after the visioning workshop. And the results from that assessment actually came up very close to what came out of the visioning workshop. That top figure there, that spider diagram or radar diagram that you see there, shows that the four largest areas in descending order are defense, security sources and sensors, manufacturing, medical technology, energy, followed by lighting, displays, and ICT. So what the visioning workshop picked up was actually borne out by the survey that was done as far as the baseline assessment was concerned as well. Another little spider diagram I just included there at the bottom was looking at the various technologies which fall within these areas. So you find something like lasers. Lasers hasn't got its own area, but it's distributed amongst defense, security, manufacturing, medical. So there's interest in multiple sectors in a single technology. And the same for many of these other areas as well. The important thing that you came out of there is, again, if you look at optoelectronics, is a very large area, as well as laser-enabled manufacturing. These are, again, the two largest technologies with the most interest currently in South Africa. Now, these next couple of slides, I know my time's running out. So I included this for information if you get the presentation. Those four areas that we identified, we then went and we mapped that during the experts workshop to try and bring all these things together. So you'll see the next couple of slides are looking at manufacturing, medical technology, renewables, and system sensors and sources. And you can go look at these things in much detail, where you'll see the writing's a bit small yet to read, but I'm sure when you open up the presentation, you'll be able to see it in more detail. But I think the most important thing here is to look at the conclusion that we came out of this. Okay. So as I said, if you look at the participants in this roadmap process, we had more than 50 participating organizations, and we had more than 100 attendees at all the various workshops with people from industry, science councils, and the HEI sectors. The major enablers and resources that we identified was there needs to be industrial government RDI partnership. There needs to be skills development and job creation. There needs to be long-term funding, and I stress that word, long-term funding. It doesn't help if you get funding for 1 year and next year you don't know what's going to happen. If you want to really grow the industry, you need to look at 3 to 5 years worth of funding. Strategic sector management team. What we found is that if you look at photonics in South Africa, it's very scattered, splintered. You don't find very close collaboration between universities, industry, science councils. If you really want to get inputs and you want to reach your objectives, you have to bring these people together. If you look at all the other industry people, they have industry associations. There's a South African Photovoltaics Industry Association. There's an Illumination Engineering Society. All these people have got societies that represent the interests of that sector. Photonics doesn't have that. There's no body that looks at the needs of industry, science council, and, HEIs, and can go to DST, can go to DTI and say, we represent the photonics community. There's a shortage of such an organization. The development of lighthouse projects. Lighthouse, flagship projects, same thing. Looking at projects that can really make a difference. The development of strategic infrastructure. Tech SA brand. If you're going to do something like photovoltaics, you have to realize that you have to really put a Tech SA stamp on that and say, look, this is South African product, support it. And then regulatory testing and compliance, if you want to start exporting, we have to make sure that our products fulfill all the requirements for the international market. On the right-hand side then are basically a number of projects, or lighthouse projects, flagship projects, that were identified in each of those sectors. As my time is limited, I'm not going to go through them, but you're more than welcome to go through those and connect them to the roadmaps that were shown as well. Then in closing, I'd just like to acknowledge my fellow task team members, Harder Schreling, Heidi Abramse, and Philip Minnar for their inputs to this presentation, as well as the documents. And what I've listed there was all the participating organizations as well that took part in this process. Once again, if we've missed you for some other reason, please feel free to give me a call, send me an email, come talk to me. We're more than willing to take as much input as possible on board, and it's going to give us a better understanding of the community. And that's the end.